Education today is not facing a small problem. Education today is facing an existential problem. Not just because of AI. The system that's existed for the last 30 years was meant to go through evolution, but it's remained stagnant. AI is about to explode that. And strangely enough, this is actually really, really good for education. Everyone thinks that AI is the thing that broke education. Not true. The system was breaking already. What are some of the factors? Very low engagement with students. Unclear why they're there. High levels of anxiety. A phone in every pocket and every locker. If you don't have a phone, you have a laptop, which means you have connection to the outside world. Students are not focused on what they're supposed to be doing. Great inflation. We'll talk more about this next video. Teacher burnout. Teachers are retiring or they're quitting. Not enough teachers to replace them. We really only learn from people we like. Teachers disappear, have to learn to like somebody. Curriculum stuck in the 1990s. Pedagogy stuck in the 1980s. Literacy and numeracy falling across the board. AI did not make this crisis. AI will make this crisis a lot worse. The existential crisis does not mean that schools are bad or that schools can be replaced by AI tools. Schools have been based on the following sort of three ideas. Number one, knowledge is scarce. Teachers are the ones with knowledge. Libraries are the ones with knowledge. And you go to school to learn knowledge. The teacher teaches you. You read through books. You gain knowledge. But the school is the source of knowledge. Number two, intelligence is difficult. You demonstrate intelligence through essays, presentations, discussion. And you get graded on this in school. Number three, performance equals ability. If you do well on a test, that must mean you're smart. If you do well on a test, you get high grades. But it's the performance that is valued. This has been true for the last 150 years. It's not true today. Knowledge is not scarce. It's everywhere. Intelligence is not hard to simulate. Machines can do this instantly. And performance is not proof of understanding. AI can perform tasks that are 100% in terms of how we measure them. We've been here before. Education has missed two major revolutions. Number one, the information revolution. Google made information free, available everywhere. Students could look up anything they needed, anything they wanted. Teachers were no longer the source of information. Memorization lost value. Knowledge. Schools responded by banning phones, lifting the drawbridge, keeping students trapped inside schools. We are the only sources of information. You cannot use Google. That's cheating. You cannot use Wikipedia. That's a bad source. Rather than teach students, well, what are the good sources? Is Wikipedia useful as a starting point? Absolutely. But we didn't do that. We said Wikipedia is bad. Instead of changing the role of the teacher, we doubled down on the value of what the teacher knew. Google whispered, Information is abundant. You should change the way you do your job. Teachers said, I'm good. No thanks. I'll do what I've done before. That was the first problem. The second revolution that teaching missed was the learning revolution. Cognitive science in the last 20 years has exploded. We understand how people learn at a cellular level, at a neuronal level, at a systems level. Has any of this information made its way into professional development, teacher colleges? Not so much. I talk to new teachers, I talk to mid-career teachers, and I talk to retiring teachers. The retiring teachers might have some understanding of it just because they're older, they've been around. The mid-career teachers have never been taught this. The new teachers are not taught this at all. It's almost as if the cognitive science departments in universities and the education departments in universities are on different planets. And there's no discussion between the two. As a result, teachers are teaching, but they don't understand how students learn. Now we're at the third revolution. The first revolution was the information revolution. The second revolution was the cognitive revolution. Now we're at the intelligence revolution. AI can do today what teachers assign, no problem, no sweat. Essays, reflections, summaries, personal reflections, if the student is able to give some information. SAT reasoning, TOK if you're doing an IB. And it does it in 30 seconds, maybe less. Essays now have lost their value as measures of understanding. We do not know if a student knows what they say on a paper because we cannot verify if the writing is their own. More problematic is we don't know if the thinking is their own. AI obliterates the proxy that is the formal written assignment in high school and probably university as well. This means that schools can no longer trust what a student understands. They can no longer trust what a student is graded on. They can no longer trust that doesn't make any sense. We'll eliminate that. What this means is schools can no longer guarantee, no, I'm not going to say guarantee either. We'll cancel that. Because a machine, because an AI can simulate all of what students have done historically and today, schools are questioning, teachers are questioning, I am questioning, what do I do? All of what I've done in the past in terms of the transfer of knowledge, that's all gone. AI knows more than I do. It's an existential crisis because it's a crisis of identity. Sam Altman had a good quote recently. He said, the cost of intelligence is going to go to zero, meaning that the token cost, the energy cost, the cognitive cost of producing information will be near zero. That's a real problem in an institution where previously the measure of value that you produce is student intelligence. The way to think about this is that AI can generate possibilities. Humans decide where these possibilities go. I'll rephrase that. Only humans can decide which possibilities matter. That is a human judgment problem. Why is this crisis good? For the first time in maybe 30 years, if we're being generous, if we're being cynical, maybe a little bit hostile, we would say probably 150 years. Education is going to have to change. We have to move from product to process. An essay is not the arbiter of whether a student understands. We have to move to a more process-based assessment schedule, not show me what you think. Show me how you think. How has your thinking changed over time? The 5-paragraph essay is dead. Now it's about the reasoning. Why do you believe something to be true? Explain that. Take as much time as you need. I think we have to move from a written defense to an oral defense. You have to be graded on what you know, not what you can outsource. I've dealt with this. In a class, I did something called a Socratic defense, where students would be given a quote, Lord of the Flies, and they would take as much time as they needed, usually a couple days, to try and understand the meaning of the quote, the significance of the quote. I would give a rubric of how they would be assessed, and then they would go and try and figure out, what does the quote mean? What are the essential ideas embedded in this quote? And then they would have 10 minutes to present. No notes, no computers, but proof of thinking. We move from performance to judgment. You cannot outsource judgment to AI. You can outsource performance. The schools of the future will not be places where we produce artifacts. We don't produce essays. We build knowledge. I'll come back to this and explain why we still have to have knowledge. We produce thinkers, reasoners, meaning makers, dialogue, discerners. We produce people who understand cognition. We produce people who think about systems and who excel at human judgment. We should have done some of this after Google. We absolutely should have done this after the cognitive revolution. But now AI will force us to change. And this is why I think that as worrying, as threatening as people want to believe AI is, I think this crisis is good. I don't have all the answers yet. I'm still working through a lot of this myself. I don't think school ends. I think in 50 years we'll still have schools. They'll just be different. And I think the casual observer 50 years in the future will probably look back on the 1990s to the 2010s and 20s maybe, and probably question why Google didn't change education, why the cognitive revolution didn't change education. And maybe, if we don't do this right, why AI didn't change education. I write on Substack. You can follow me for more there. Thanks for watching.